it's not just about one man, and it's not just about one horrific scandal. It's about what it all revealed, the ugly pattern we keep seeing again and again and again. Because here's the truth so many people don't want to face. We talk about Jeffrey Epstein like he was a singular monster who came out of nowhere, but he wasn't unique. And that realization, it should terrify the hell out of each one of us. Not because fear is the goal, it isn't, but because pretending these patterns don't exist are putting more kids at risk. We've seen this story play out before, and it breaks my heart every time. We saw it with Jimmy Savile in the UK, a man celebrated as a national hero for decades, trusted by billions, protected by the powerful, while hundreds of victims were dismissed, mocked, or told they were making it up. We saw it with Larry Nassar in US gymnastics. Brave young athletes found the courage to speak up again and again, only to be ignored by the very institutions that were supposed to keep them safe. Their pain was sidelined for the sake of reputations and medals. We've seen it in church scandals across so many countries. Different languages, different cultures, but the same devastating cycle. Power shielded, voices silenced, children left carrying wounds that never fully heal. How does the Catholic Church even still exist after what we know about the abuse and the way the church showed up or not, more like covered it up? It's not that every person in power is evil or every institution is corrupt to the core. But when abuse happens, too often the system's first instinct is to protect its own image instead of the vulnerable. And that betrayal, that cuts so deep for the victims and for the rest of us. Most of us imagine predators as shadowy figures in alleys. But the reality that shatters me is how many survivors describe someone respected, someone admired, someone whose status made them seem untouchable. When a young person finally gathers every ounce of courage they have to speak up, scared, confused, ashamed, what do they so often hear? You must be mistaken. Oh, he would never do something like that. You're going to destroy lives if you keep saying things like that. Can you imagine that moment? Can you imagine what it feels like? The crushing isolation, the way it teaches a child or a young person that their pain does not matter, that the truth isn't welcome. That isolation isn't accidental. It's one of the most effective tools predators have. Silence keeps them safe. Sometimes because people are afraid, sometimes because they're in denial, sometimes because they simply can't bear to believe that someone they trusted could be capable of such evil. It's painfully human, but the consequences are devastating. What a lot of people don't realize is that these large-scale scandals almost never come down to one powerful abuser acting alone. They happen when failure after failure stacks up. Missed red flags, complaints swept under the rug, quiet payoffs, PR teams working overtime, and legal wording that shields the institution instead of the kid it was meant to protect. By the time the truth explodes into the open, years, sometimes decades have passed. Lives have been shattered, and the damage echoes through generations. That's why laser focusing only on one name or one flight log can actually pull our attention away from the deeper wound. Removing one predator doesn't magically fix the conditions that let him flourish. That doesn't mean we shouldn't remove him, but We need to talk about the patterns instead, the real, repeated, documented ones. Victims dismissed when they first cry out for help. Institutions that delay, deflect, or deny. Reputations placed above safety every single time. These patterns keep showing up in different countries, different fields, and it should make us all deeply, deeply uncomfortable. Not paranoid or hopeless for that matter, but awake. Because awareness is the first crack in the wall of silence. Silence protects the system. Awareness forces them to change. And here's the part that always hurts the most to say out loud. Most victims don't come forward right away. Not because their story is fake or because they're confused, but because the price of speaking can feel unbearable. Losing friends, losing opportunities, facing backlash, and carrying trauma that follows them for the rest of their lives. So when they finally do speak up years later, the question too many people ask is, why now? Why wait? But the question we should be asking, the kinder, fairer one, is what made it so terrifying and unsafe for them to speak sooner? That's a culture that needs to change. That single shift in perspective moves the blame off the victims and onto the systems that failed them. Schools, sports programs, religious groups, workplaces, governments, anywhere power sits unchecked. This isn't only about headline-grabbing cases. It's about the quiet vigilance we all need every day. Really listening when a child or a young person raises a concern. Taking every report seriously instead of hoping it goes away. Choosing to protect people over protecting images. Predators count on us looking away. They count on the discomfort that makes people change the subject. They count on systems that value predictability and reputation above everything else. But real change begins the moment we refuse to look away anymore. When institutions are held accountable, when victims are believed the first time, when secrecy gives way to real transparency. It won't be perfect. It'll be messy because we're human. It won't be fast, but it can happen if enough of us demand it. At its core, this isn't a conversation about fear. It's a conversation about responsibility. Our responsibility to see the patterns. Our responsibility to stand with survivors. Our responsibility to build better systems, ones that actually protect the vulnerable instead of the powerful. The deepest lesson from Epstein, Savile, NASA, and all the others isn't just about monstrous individuals. It's about how systems can fail so badly. And the powerful part is systemic failure isn't inevitable. It can be fixed, not easily and not overnight, but with intention and courage, it can be fixed. It starts with conversations like this, honest ones, uncomfortable ones, necessary ones. Because predators don't vanish when one name disappears from the news cycle. But systems can heal and improve when ordinary people finally say, enough, we deserve better, and our kids deserve better. That's where real hope lives. Not in pretending none of this happens, but in facing it with open eyes and refusing to stay silent. Thank you so much for being here, for listening to this, for feeling it with me, and for sharing this video. Like and subscribe if it makes sense. If these words is something that others need to hear, please share them. Okay, take care. The world can be a dangerous place as well as incredibly beautiful. See you next time. Bye.